Hey guys, Will from Boosted Autos here. Today I'm really excited because I get to do something that I've been wanting to do for many years now, and that is test out one of these generic sort of Android head units for your car. So if you don't already know, you can buy these Android head units, doubled-in head units that claim a massive range of features, the biggest range of features pretty much of any head unit on the market. And yet the price for these things is very small when you compare it to a name brand like Clarion or Alpine or Kenwood or the like. So what I want to do in this video today is put this thing to the test, see what kind of features it has, see what the quality is like, see what the build is like, and figure out whether it's actually worth your time and money to invest in one of these things. So let's get into it. Okay, so in the interest of full disclosure, a company called GearBest has actually sent me this unit to review for free, so I haven't paid for the unit. But in saying that, as you guys know with this channel by now, every review that I do is an honest review and not an endorsement video. So I'm going to tell you the honest truth of my opinions on this thing. I've actually already gone back to GearBest with a couple of things that I think aren't quite right with it, and they've said that's totally fine. Look, just be completely honest with it. We need to make improvements. That's all good. So, so this is a completely honest review, unbiased. As unbiased as I can possibly be anyway. So look, let's actually have a look at the unit itself. It is a Ownice C500. So I don't know how you're meant to pronounce that. Ownice, I no idea. But O-W-N-I-C-E is how it's spelt. So it's a C500, and if we have a quick look at the specs on it, it's running Android 6, so 1 generation old Android software. It's a quad-core ARM Cortex-A53 processor that it's in it, so it's a decent enough processor. 7-inch touchscreen, Bluetooth 4, USB 3 input. It's got Wi-Fi, it's got an inbuilt SIM card slot as well for 4G, which, as you'll see later in the video, is extremely important with these guys. It's got a camera input, which is this guy for recording video footage, so you can stick it on the front of your car, do that kind of stuff, use it as a dash cam, and I'll show you how that works as well. AM/FM radio with RDS support as well, so you get the text coming through with your radio. So the screen resolution is 1024 by 600, so it's not the highest resolution screen in the world, but it is only a 7-inch screen, so it's decent enough. So it also supports things like steering wheel controls, inbuilt maps as well, and that's one of the things that I actually did find a problem with, the maps, but we'll get into that. Now, another interesting thing that I did find with the specifications when I looked at this guy on the website is that it says that it's compatible with CDA, CDR, CDRW, video CD, DVD, all of those kind of compact disc formats, but there's nowhere to put a disc in. So I don't know whether I'm missing something really obvious, but the screen doesn't flip down. There's no additional inputs or anything like that, so I don't know whether maybe there's an additional module that you can buy that's a CD player or something like that. It plugs into a stacker maybe, but that kind of makes me question all of the other specifications, because if it says that it supports CD and it doesn't, what else is not quite accurate in the descriptions? A couple of other things as well. It does support DAB+, but you have to have an additional module for that, which I don't have, so I can't really test that out. DAB+ doesn't work up here on the Central Coast where I live anyway, so it's a bit of a moot point, but yeah, it does support that if you buy the additional module. As I mentioned before, it does support a rear-facing camera, which you can plug in, and that just uses a composite input. Also TPMS as well, so tire pressure monitoring, which is pretty cool. In the box, you get a couple of 4G antennas, you get your GPS antenna, you get a nice breakout cable, which is nicely labeled, so that's all your video inputs and outputs and that sort of thing. So you got your RCAs, video inputs, all that kind of stuff, pretty standard. The harness itself is nicely labeled as well. You probably can't really see that there, but everything is nicely labeled, which is really important. You've got a microphone input, you've got a couple of USB inputs and a USB/DVR input, which is the input that you use for the DVR camera. And that is about it for that. So it also does come with a nice handy wiring diagram, which is nice and clear, and it is actually written in proper English. It's not difficult to understand, so that will be useful to install it. So what I'm going to be doing is installing this unit into my Subaru Forester, which is the car that my wife drives most of the time. It's kind of our family car, so I drive it whenever we go out with the kids. The head unit that's in that car at the moment, the factory standard one, is completely stuffed. The fan in it's seized up and it overheats, it reboots, it doesn't skip stations, you know, it does all kinds of nasty stuff. So I'm going to be chucking this into my Forester, and what I'll do is I'll do a follow-up video in a couple of months' time, let you know what the unit's like to live with after I've been using it for a while, because often the initial impressions of these kinds of things don't really give you a good, I guess, understanding of what it's going to be like to use day to day. So we'll chuck it into the Forester and see how it goes after a couple of months. So what I'll do with this video is I'll take you through the features of the unit itself, show you a bit of customization stuff and the kind of apps and stuff that I like to use to make it do the things that I want. Now, the great thing about Android head units is that they are highly customizable. So you really can do pretty much anything on these guys. The downside of that is that if you're looking for something that you can just take out of the box, plug in and have it do exactly what you want straight out of the box, might be a little bit tricky for you. But anyway, let's get into the features and benefits of this unit, check it all out, see what's good, see what's bad, and get stuck into it. Alright, so before we boot this thing up, I just wanted to show you quickly the build quality. So the buttons are a little bit plasticky, but they're not too bad. They're a little bit better than I actually expected. They feel nice to press. You know, they don't look super high quality. There's a little window here that you put in your SD card for maps and your SIM card as well for your 4G connection. But the buttons themselves feel nice and solid. They don't feel like they're going to break anytime soon. And the knob at the top is nice and easy. That actually does feel like it would break if you knocked it, but I mean the same can be said for most head units really, so no problems there. Overall the construction is good. There's no issues with gaps in the screen or anything nasty like that. So yeah, look, overall I'm happy with the build quality. So let's boot it up. I guess the next important thing to look at is how quickly does it actually boot up when you start the car. So you can see here I've customized the Subaru logo onto it when you start it up, and that's a setting that is available from factory, and I'll show you how to do that. I've actually changed the boot logo here to be a custom one, and that does require root access to the operating system to do that. Now I'm not going to cover how to actually root this device in this video, but I will provide a link to instructions on the XDA developer forums a little bit later on. Now, if you guys didn't know, I actually used to be a custom ROM developer for Android devices back before I started this YouTube channel, so I do know quite a bit about customization and you know, that kind of stuff for Android. So we'll get into a little bit of that stuff in the video, but that is the screen that you're presented with when you first boot up the unit from factory pretty much. And you can see it booted up relatively quickly as well. It wasn't the fastest thing in the world, but it was certainly manageable. It's not going to leave you sitting there for 20 minutes waiting to put in your GPS navigation or anything nasty like that. So straight out of the box, the unit is nice and responsive. There's no issues with lag or anything like that, so that's all good and well. You've got a range of buttons down the bottom here which you can move around for your basic apps which come with the unit. So I don't know what that little notification is, but we'll go back to the main home screen. Now, one thing that I am noticing immediately with this unit is that these icons along the top, which you use for notifications and navigation as well, so you've got your back button there, your apps button there, and your home button there, that is right up the very top of the screen. Now, it looks fine on camera, but if you are sitting in your car higher up than the screen, you can see it's actually hidden underneath the bezel there. So it's not the greatest design in terms of the layout of the UI in that regard. It'd be a lot better if those controls were down the bottom so that you could actually see and manipulate those if you're sitting at a funny angle. So if this thing is at eye level, which it actually is in my Forester, so it'll be okay. But if it was to sit low inside your car, a lot lower than your eye level, you would have problems reading that. But we can get around that with a customized UI as well, so it's not a major issue. So we'll have a quick look at the stock apps that come with the unit and the apps that I've installed on the top as well. I've actually changed that navigation button to be my, my preferred navigation app, which is Waze, and that's also been reprogrammed on the little navigation button on the side here. So when I press navigation, it takes me straight into the Waze app, which is cool. Now, we'll go across here, we've got our radio app, which is obviously an important one. And this is nice and easy to use. Scans through the various stations, you can store presets. It's got 3 FM bands, a wideband, and an AM band as well. You can type in the frequency that you want as well, which is handy. You can choose whether you want stereo or mono. You can search, and what that does is that just kind of scans through until it finds a station. Obviously, it's not going to find a station right now because I don't have an antenna plugged in. You can adjust your volume level, which is, I guess, a little bit redundant because you've got a volume knob here anyway. Bit strange, that one, but it is what it is. And then you've got a link here also to go into your settings for your audio. So you can control bass, mid, and treble there. I don't know what X amp is, but I'm assuming it's some sort of a bass boost. And then you can also adjust your seating position too. So that is pretty cool. Standard Android features there. Now again, there are aftermarket apps which you can install that give you a lot more control over your parametric Now again, there are aftermarket apps that you can install for parametric equalization, that kind of thing if you want, but it does have a bunch of presets out of the box if you're not an audiophile and you just want to get the best sound for your listening taste. So we'll jump back out of that again. That is the radio app. We'll go back to the home screen. Video. Now this is basically just an app which allows you to play whatever videos are available on the unit. I don't have a memory card in there with any videos on it at the moment, but it works exactly the way you would expect it to work. It just plays whatever videos are on the unit. Jump into Bluetooth. Now Bluetooth is basically playback from your phone. So if I play music on my phone, it'll play back through here, and I'll quickly show you what that looks like. Mouthful War by Pantera, and there it is playing on my phone. So that is really, really important if you don't have a 4G card in here, because this is the only way that you can play music stream from your phone back in through this app. So you've got your basic functions here: play, pause, skip. It all works the way you'd expect it to, no problems there. And your volume control button again there as well, which again is redundant. Now, one thing that I have noticed is that the album art doesn't seem to work, and that is from my iPhone. I don't know whether it would work with an Android device. That's an iPhone 6s Plus running iOS 11.0.3 at the moment, which is the most recent update. So next button up is our recent calls list. Haven't made any phone calls, which is why that's not showing anything. We then got our contact list, which does what it says it does. I'm not going to press that because I don't want you to get all my contacts. And then we've got a dialer as well, so you can make phone calls from here. Everything works the way you would expect it to. Now, look, the interface isn't real pretty for the Bluetooth playback. So if you're not going to put a 4G SIM card into this unit and you are just going to use your phone for playback, do keep that in mind, that it's a little bit ugly. You can customize it if you know what you're doing, but this is what you get out of the box. So we'll jump back out to the home screen again. Now this music player just plays whatever sound files are stored on the unit or on the SD card. So it's not a streaming app. So this is a different interface entirely. And again, this is where you kind of get into that Android. I guess it's not a very fluid user experience. Every interface looks a little bit different because it's been designed by a different developer. So if that kind of thing bothers you, then you know it's not really the thing for you. But you can see here it's just looking at the root level storage on the device, and it's loading up all the sound files that it can find. So you'd want to create some folders and point it to the right directory for you there. So you jump into whatever directory you wanted and play the sounds from there. But you can see it's a little bit buggy. It kind of jumps all over the place a little bit. I probably wouldn't use this app. I'd probably use a different media player app altogether to play back music, because this is not a real great experience. But we'll jump back out into apps. So TPMS app, which will obviously link to the TPS modules once those are installed, and they show pressure and temperature, and you can set alarms as well for whatever pressure or temperature you want it to trigger at. So maximum and minimum settings there, PSI or bar, and of course Celsius or Fahrenheit. Jump back out again. AV input, so if you've got an external video player that you want to plug into this for some reason, you can play the video there as well, and it will show up on the screen. So all it's showing is a blank screen right now. If we had a video input plugged in, we would get some feed there. OBD2, so this is another cool one. You can link it to a OBD2 reader in your car. I'll show you that once it's installed into my Forester as well, because this is actually pretty cool. And remember also, you can use apps like Talk Pro as well to read all of your OBD settings and create custom gauges, that kind of stuff. And if you're interested in that, I have actually done another video on my channel about specifically that, so I'll link that above my head now for you to check out. So DTV, you can actually link this to a digital TV tuner as well. I didn't purchase the module for that because I'm not really interested in watching TV while I'm driving, but if you wanted to, that is there. Scrolling across, you can see a bunch of apps that I've installed aftermarket to do some stuff that I want, and I'll show you all of that a little bit later. The other thing that I need to show you quickly before we go any further is the iGo app, which is the default navigation app. Now, what I found with this straight out of the box is that it didn't actually have Australian maps loaded, and I had to dig around on the internet and find some dodgy torrent file with the maps that I wanted to load up. So all it had was European maps from standard. So look, it does have all the basic features that you would want. You can program in a destination, find address, you know, the usual kind of stuff. It's a clunky interface. It's not the prettiest thing in the world, but it does work. And do just keep in mind that if you live in Australia, you're going to have to find those maps yourself. But you can customize the sound and warnings. You can customize the languages as well if you want to. There are a bunch of them there. Speed warnings as well, which is handy. Warning signs and alerts, toll booth warnings. So look, all the basic stuff is there. You can customize it to prefer different types of routes as well, whether you want it to avoid unpaved roads, ferries, tolls, that kind of stuff. So again, standard stuff there. So we'll jump back out of the app there. Now what I tend to do is use the Waze app, but of course to do that you need to have a 4G connection or link it to your phone. So at this point, what I want to discuss is the internet connectivity of this device. So I mentioned at the start of the video that you really do need to have a 4G SIM card in this to really take full advantage of the benefits. Now you might be thinking, if it's linked to your phone via Bluetooth, doesn't it just use the Bluetooth connection from your phone? Now, unfortunately it doesn't. You can tether it to your phone, but you have to tether it via Wi-Fi. And what that means is that the battery will drain extremely quickly on your phone. So you can use the internet connection from your phone, but when you do it, you're going to chew through battery on your phone. So really the best way to do it is to have a 4G SIM card inside the device itself. Now, what you can do with a lot of network carriers is purchase an additional SIM card which will tap into the data that you get with your mobile phone. So you might have to pay a couple of bucks a month just for the SIM card, something like that. But then it taps into the data that you have from your phone. Now, in my case, I'm on a 16 gigabyte plan, so I have multiple SIM cards. I've got one in my iPad. I've got one that I'm going to use in this as well once it's in the car, and it'll all just come out of my pool of data. And my wife's phone is actually on the same plan as well, so we all come out of that same 16 gig, which works quite well. But do keep that in mind. You're going to want to get a 4G SIM card for this if you want to use all the internet connectivity features, things like Google Maps, things like Spotify, all that kind of stuff when you're on the road. So right now I've got it connected to my home Wi-Fi connection, but we'll jump into Spotify because this is the app that I use for all of my music playback. And you can see there it's picked up the music that I was playing on my phone. And this interface works really, really nice. You can jump back into what you've been listening to previously. You can see there my Spotify is completely corrupted by my children, but playlists all show up. Playlists are here. So it's exactly the same as the Spotify app on tablet if you've used that, and it works really well in the car. You can search for tracks that you want, all the usual stuff. So this is my preferred method of music playback in the car, and I'm expecting that this is going to work really, really well once we've got this installed. So that's really good. So that kind of does away with the need for the ugly music players and, you know, the Bluetooth connection, that kind of thing. So that's basically what I've got installed in terms of apps. I'll show you Talk quickly as well, just for the sake of it. So you can see I've got my digital gauges here, which link to the car, tell me my RPMs, speed, coolant temperatures, pretty much anything you want. Boost pressure's there as well. And this is fully customizable, but we'll jump back. So the next thing to cover now is customization of the basic UI. So you can see here, you've got your buttons down the bottom, and just like an Android phone, you can actually customize this with different widgets. So we'll trash these widgets quickly now and delete those. Android will munch on them. And then what we do is we jump into apps and we click on widgets, and then all the widgets that we have from whatever various apps we have on the phone can all be used on the home screen. So if I tap on Waze, for example, I can drag that to my home screen, and that will sit there from now on. Go back in. Traffic reports, music playlists, Spotify playback as well, so we can chuck that there. So you can really, you've got the power to do pretty much whatever you want here with whatever apps you have installed, just like you can on your mobile phone. You can, of course, also change your wallpaper as well. So just long press on the screen, go to wallpapers and select the one that you want from whatever's preloaded, or you can upload your own custom images as well if you want to. So we'll actually go with that image for now. That looks kind of cool. But if you're like me, you're probably going to want to go a little bit further than this. So what I've done is I've installed a range of custom launchers which allow me to completely change the look and feel of the unit. So I'll show you what that looks like now. The first one that I loaded was Android Auto. Now this is a very vanilla Google kind of experience, this one. And it does dumb down the interface quite a lot, but it's really good for driving. So you've got your music playback there, which you can swipe off if you're not using it. Various different addresses that you've looked up recently. I was like showing a mate at work a good spot for plane spotting the other day, which is why I got Swamp Road in there. But you know, you've got your music playback there, which you can define as whatever app you want, which is really cool. So I've obviously told it to go to Spotify. Back out of that again. You've got your phone contacts there and a dialer. And you can see straight away that this interface is nice and clean. Everything looks like it was designed by the same person, and it's a nice fluid user experience. So click on navigation as well and it takes you to Google Maps. Again, I'm not going to show you that because I don't want you to see where I live, but it does work really, really nicely. And that takes you back to the home screen again. And you can exit the app. You can customize a few other different bits and pieces here as well. OK Google, of course, does work as well if you switch that on. So that is the Android Auto Launcher, and I do highly recommend that one if you're after basic functionality. You just want something that's easy to jump in the car and it just does what it says it does without any rubbish. So that one's cool. The launcher that I like the best is Car Launcher. The reason I like this one is it's a lot more customizable. You can change pretty much everything about the app. You can launch Hey Google as well, and you can see here it's listening to what I'm saying, which is cool. Volume control on the side, it shows your speed, it shows the date, music playback down the bottom if you've got music playing, and you can fully customize the apps that show up in the list here as well. And if you swipe across like that as well, you can add some custom fields here. So we've got speed, we can add pretty much whatever we want, maximum speed, the distance that we've traveled, the time that we've been stopped, average speed, you know, all that interesting stuff. Acceleration times is cool as well. And you can customize how long you want it to show that data for as well. So per trip, for just today, for just this week, just this month, or forever. All very handy. So if we tap up here as well, you can see it lists all of the apps that we've got installed, and we can actually change how those are displayed as well. So tiles, or as a list as well if we want. So this is my preferred launcher, and this is the one that I'm going to have load when the unit switches on. So when I turn on my car, it'll go straight to this screen. But for now, what I want to do is jump back out to the main screen. Now, of course, because it is an Android unit, you have your Play Store and you can install pretty much whatever apps you want that are compatible. So it works exactly the same as it does on a phone. You can select whatever apps you want and just install them. So that's really handy. And there are a lot of really good apps which are available for these units. So I do suggest that you jump in and have a look at what's available. You can do that on your PC as well. You can just jump on Google Play Store from there and have a browse of the kind of apps that you can get for these units. So we'll jump back into settings now. And what I want to do is I want to show you a couple of the native features which are available on this unit. So the first thing we'll do is we'll jump into display. And you can see here you can customize your daytime and nighttime backlight settings. And what I'll do quickly now is just plug in the illumination wire into my power supply, which will simulate switching on the headlights of the car. So we'll plug that in there. You can see there the screen dimmed down and the illumination on the side lit up. You might not really be able to see that too well there, but you can see those lights came on. Yeah, that's a bit better now. And we can actually customize those colors as well. So we can go, all right, I don't want any green. I don't want any blue, so you can see now the lights are red. You can select all the different colors here as well. So that's really cool. And again, it's nice and snappy and responsive. So you can match it to the interior lighting of your car. So in my case, my interior lighting is red. So I'll leave that red, and it does retain that setting when you reboot the unit as well. So as long as you don't factory reset, it stays there. So that's cool. We'll unplug that wire again to simulate turning the lights off. And again, it comes back up to full brightness. So that is your display settings. Jump into general settings, and you've got your standard kind of Android stuff in here, which you probably don't really need to go into. One cool thing that you can do from here is change your boot logo to match your car as well. Now, it asks you for a password, and this password isn't supplied anywhere in the documentation, but I managed to figure out, and this password isn't supplied anywhere in the documentation, but I managed to figure out that it is 9999. So hit OK, and you can see here, you can select whatever boot screen you want. And I selected Subaru because it's going into my Subaru, but there's a whole range of different boot logos there, which is pretty cool. You can't actually customize these unless you put a custom bootloader on the unit. We're not going to get into that in this video because that's beyond the scope of what we're covering here, but there's a good range of stuff here to choose from for most people. So we'll update that into the firmware, and that is what was going to display when we load the car now. So that is that. We'll jump back out of common settings, down to volume. So you've got different volume adjustments for all the different types of functions. So that is really handy. It means you can boost the volume of your ring, you can boost the volume of your navigation if you want, or have that quieter than your media. Really good stuff here to have. A lot of factory head units and even aftermarket head units that aren't running Android don't give you this much control over these adjustments, which is really cool. So I'm looking forward to testing that out in the car. Sound equalizer we had a quick look at before, and again, you can install aftermarket equalization apps to handle that stuff. Video lets you switch on and off the various different settings there. So reversing assistant lines on or off, reversing warning lines on and off. So now that is particularly useful because a lot of cars actually broadcast those lines as part of the feed that comes from the camera itself. So if you couldn't switch this off, you'd have two sets of reversing lines showing up. So that's really good. I don't know what air conditioner does, to be perfectly honest with you, but we'll switch it off and on. You can actually switch off the video forbidden while driving thing there too. I didn't notice before, which is cool. And rear video is obviously your rear camera, so that is all handy. Navigation settings lets you know where it's going to be looking for. So this is the default app that it's going to launch when you actually start the navigation app. So when I press navigation on the side here, this is the app that it's going to load for me. Steering wheel buttons. So if you've got an aftermarket steering wheel control module, you can plug that in as well, and it will map whatever buttons you want to whatever functions you want on your steering wheel. So what you do is you just press on the button that you want, you press that button on the steering wheel and it maps it, and then from now on, whenever you press that button, it will perform that function in your car. So that is handy, pretty standard featured for most head units these days. Bluetooth settings here, so auto connect, auto answer phone calls, pretty simple. Next thing I want to show you is the video recording function. So we'll switch that on quickly now. And you can see there my ugly face talking to the camera. So pretty decent quality. It's relatively low light in here at the moment, but please excuse the state of my garage at the moment. It's absolutely disgusting. I'm in the middle of wrapping my MX-5. There's the BMW there, tucked away nice and cozy. It's pouring rain outside. But yeah, look, that's pretty good quality, and it's a nice wide viewing angle as well. You can see the kind of fisheye effect there. So if we tap on the screen here, we've got a bunch of functions here, and you can see the little recording light flashing up there, which means it's recording by default. Now, one thing that did confuse the hell out of me at first is that the memory card actually goes in the side of the camera just here, so it's not the memory card slot on the unit itself. So you put the memory card in the camera, and that's cool because what it means is that it separates your dash cam footage from everything else, and it doesn't take up your storage space. So spin that back around towards me again while I'm talking. We can play back the videos that have already been stored. We can format the memory card. We can stop the video recording. We can take a still snapshot as well. I guess that's a back button. I didn't know what that did. So all the basic functions that you would expect to see on a regular dash cam are there. You can adjust the camera brightness as well, which is cool. So you do have that manual control, but you can see here if I block the camera with my hand, the automatic exposure compensation is pretty good. So I don't expect that you'd need to adjust that too much, but we'll jump back down again into the menu, settings. You can invert the image, so if the camera is mounted upside down or backwards, that's all good. You can adjust the definition as well. I guess that just maps to whatever you've got on the camera. Record time, record intervals, so 1 minute, 3 minutes, or 5 minutes. Camera frequency as well. Now that's an important one if you're operating in fluorescent lighting. You can adjust that, which is cool. Gravity sensor, I don't know what that does. I guess it means that it adjusts automatically to whatever orientation the camera is in. Sound effect settings, TV out as well. So you can actually set this so that the signal coming from the camera goes to the composite output. Look, it doesn't give you things like collision avoidance and lane departure warnings, stuff like that, but you wouldn't expect it to anyway, really, I don't suppose. So that is the dash cam function. Now, one other thing that I did notice, which I'll just show you quickly here, is that the mounting screws are all good if you've got a mounting bracket, but it didn't come with one of those sort of surrounds that you would normally get with a head unit. So if you've got an older style car that's got the sort of clip-in shell that you might be used to seeing, this didn't actually come with one, and I don't know whether it was missing from the box or whether that was just the way it is, but I did actually contact GearBest, and they said that they weren't sure either and to mention it in the video. So if you are looking for a clip-in style double DIN slot for an older style car, you might need to buy one aftermarket. As you can see, it does have the little tabs there, so it looks like it should work, but it just didn't come with it. So I don't know what the story is there. Okay guys, so that is my basic rundown of this Android head unit, the Ownice C500. So look, overall impressions, it's really snappy to use. There's no issues with lag at all. The screen quality and resolution is good. The viewing angle is good with the display as well. It doesn't go all funny colors when you move off to the side, which is great. Build quality is good. Look, the built-in apps that come with it aren't fantastic. They all look a little bit different from each other, and they do look a little bit 1996, but the catch is to get the most out of this unit, and any other Android head unit for that matter, you really do need to have an internet connection. So you're going to want to chuck that 4G SIM card in there or tether it with your phone so that you can use apps like Spotify, Google Maps, Waze, all that stuff. Without an internet connection, you really are missing out on the bulk of the functionality of the unit. The other great thing that I love about it is the amount of customization that is available. As you can see, I've gone to town with it. I've changed a lot of stuff. I've rooted it as well so that I can change icons. I can basically do whatever I want with this unit, and that's beyond the scope of this video. But look, out of the box, if you were to just plug this in and use it, don't know. I think you're really going to want to have to customize it to really get the most out of it. But look, what we'll do, we'll chuck it into the car, and I'm really looking forward to installing it. So I definitely think at a first glance, it's worth the money. So hopefully you found the video interesting and useful. If you have, please make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next video. Not sure if I'm going to do an installation video or not on this one yet. It's probably going to be a pretty simple install, and I have done a video in the past on how to install a head unit into the car, so I don't particularly want to do another one. I just want to get this installed as quickly as I can. But I will go back in a couple of months' time and show you what it's like to live with once it's installed and everything's up and running, and my overall impressions of the unit after using it for a while. So like the video, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next video. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye.